Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Skag & Bones back with another video. And today we're going to be talking about rear mechs. We already did a video on rear mechs. And as you can see here, this is our rear mech on our Giant Propel SLR1. This is a Shimano 105 rear mech. And what we want to do is we want to upgrade, do a very inexpensive upgrade that you guys can do yourselves. It's something we did with our Sora, a rear mech that we have on our Jamis, and we put on some new Jockey Wheels. So one of the big differences is obviously how they manufacture the rear mech. The other big difference is how many gears it will support. This will support 11 versus the 9 gears that the Sora would. But the other thing is the type of jockey wheels that they use. So, as we knew from before, the Sora jockey wheels had no bearings in them. They're just standard jockey wheels. Of course, the jockey wheels are pulleys. That's what we kind of call them. That's the name for them. So here. As you can hear me rattling around going in my toolbox here. Some of the things, well, the main thing we're going to need is we're going to need a set of Allen wrenches. Okay. Most notably, we should need I believe, and just get yourself a set of Allen wrenches. You're going to need a 3mm. So that's the size you're going to need. So if you don't want to pull out your whole set of Allen wrenches, you don't have to. Always make sure I have a mat under me. Just an inexpensive little GP4 mat. You can throw anything, paper, whatever. That way you don't get grease and stuff all over. As you can see, the garage has tile on it, nice tile, so I don't want to get it messy. Also, if I drop stuff, it goes on the mat, it doesn't bounce around the floor. So as you can see, these are what the standard jockey wheels look like. Take a quick look at these guys. So, now, and then we'll look at the rear, then on the 105 we'll actually see what kind of jockey wheels these guys have. So standard jockey wheels are going to be like this. You're going to have the top jockey wheel is going to be like this, and then it's going to have an internal bushing. Oh, sorry. Trying to put this together here. It's going to have an internal bushing like that, okay? And then, well, there you go. I just dropped those things, so hold on one second. Pick it up. I didn't drop it on the mat. See, that's what happens. Nope. Let's see here. Grab this one more time. Let's see if we can do this without dropping everything. So, you're going to have a outer bushing and an inner bushing, okay, on the top jockey wheel. Then you'll have these two bearing plates that hold those bushings in. They kind of go together like that, okay? And then you have your jockey wheel screw that has to go in between the plates of the rear mech over here. So you got to kind of take that apart, and then that's what you do there, okay? Well, we're not going to do that. Like I said, we're going to but that's how that works. And then your lower jockey wheel on the Sora has a single bushing. If you go to the Claris, you're just going to have one single bushing, okay? And then the bushing is spinning against the plastic. And what really acts as a bearing is the screw against the bushing. That's what you're getting. That's what's acting as it's just kind of spinning like that. The two bushings are a little bit better because when you put oil in between the two bushings, it acts similar to a bearing. So that the one bushing spins around the other one. The problem is it's not as smooth. Okay, so that's what that is like. Now, come over here, and these jockey wheels cost about $1. So now we have a machined. This isn't just a plastic jockey wheel. These jockey wheels are kind of plastic. They're just plastic, rubber, whatever you want to call them. Real cheap. Okay. something like this. This is machined aluminum, and it has a bushing there, but that is just to prevent wear for the bearing, okay? And as you can see, as I spin it, this center pole piece is spinning, and it's actually, if I pull these plates apart, you'd see a bearing in there. So I could actually replace the bearing on these, and as long as the aluminum doesn't fall apart, these will last for a long time, okay? So we got two of them. We're going to replace both the jockey wheels. Now the 105 jockey wheels, you're like, but those are better than the Sora jockey wheels, correct? And yes, they are. So Sora has single bushing, double bushing. Tiagra has double bushing, double bushing. And then you get into this, and this should have double bushing, one bearing. Ultegra has two bearings, and then what they do with the Dura Ace is the wheels become a lighter material. Okay? So the first thing we want to do, and we want to do this before we start to take this guy apart completely, is we are going to get out our good old dummy hub. Okay, so we're pulling out our dummy hub. You don't have to use one of these. You could do this with the wheel on, but I want to take the wheel off, so I don't want to damage my wheel. So we're going to start by taking the wheel off. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to come up here to the brake lever. We're going to flip the brake quick switch, which is actually opening up the brakes just a little bit to allow the clearance of the brakes from the tire. And then we are going to take and back off our hub, and then we're going to drop this guy out. Now normally you say, well, why didn't you adjust this all the way down to the lower position? Well, the reason for that is I'm putting in a dummy hub, and I want it a little farther in to put the dummy hub in. Okay. Now once I go to put the wheel back, I will shift this all the way down to the lower gear in the back, and then we will put the wheel back. But for now, we want to do it that way, and it'll be a little bit easier for installing of our dummy hub. So once again, we've got our Park Tool dummy hub. I'm going to come in like this, put this on. Come up here like so. Get that so it's nice and tight, so that we can just push that. The quick release is on, and now we got our dummy hub in. Okay, so that's the first step that I want to do. Now some people will actually find the quick link on their chain, and they can remove it that way. So if we wanted to technically remove it, we got our quick link. Sorry about that. I'll come in all the way down to the bottom so you guys can see it. There's our quick link right there. We can zoom in. There we go. That's our quick link right there. So I can remove the quick link. I can remove the entire chain, lay the chain on the ground if I really wanted to, and then pull this like that, but we're not going to. So I'm just going to, instead of fully removing the chain from the bicycle, I'm going to pull the jockey wheel. I'm going to pull the back side off of this. I'm going to pull it off, and I'm going to pull the jockey wheels off one at a time. Okay, so like I said, we need our 3mm Allen key, and we are going to start with the lower jockey wheel. Okay, so, and these should be on pretty tight. Sometimes they're going to be Loctited in, so you want to break tension. If you have a set of Allen keys like this, if you notice you have a rounded bondus end, and then you have the squared end, use the square end first to break the torque, because these should be torqued from the factory. Make sure you push, the Allen key is pushed all the way in. You don't want to be breaking threads on this. And we're going to remove the jockey wheel as such. And the chain is going to kind of go forward a little bit as we do this, and we don't want to lose or confuse our other parts from other jockey wheel that was sitting on the floor with these jockey wheel parts. So remove that. I'm going to take out this screw, because This Giant is using stainless steel screws. They're using better screws than what I had on the James before. Okay. Because you're pulling some tension on it, this is going to kind of pull on the bolt itself. Now, if you were to remove the chain, you're not going to have any tension on the jockey wheel, so this will be a little bit easier. And then you can kind of take and rotate the top portion up a little bit, and you can pull out the jockey wheel like that, and then pull it out like such. There you see it, there's our jockey wheel right there. So, we'll take our jockey wheel, we're going to put it on the ground. We will keep our jockey wheels because if for some reason our better replacement aftermarket aluminum one breaks, we want to be able to replace this at the spur of the moment until we can get a new one. The other thing is, as well, let's see if the bushing. Don't think the bushing would fit in there. No, it's a different bushing altogether. So the bushing is a lot thicker. It's not gonna, you can't reuse the bushing in replace of this bushing right there. That's a little too small of bushing. It's a little too big. We're also gonna put a little bit of oil on these guys as well. So, like I said, we want to take the whole thing apart, but we need to reuse these screws, and as you can see there's a tiny bit of Loctite on there. Let's see here. There. See, tiny bit of Loctite that was holding it in. Okay, so now I'm going to take the screw. I'm going to actually put it with the other jockey wheel, the new jockey wheel. Okay. So now we're going to come over to the back side, and what they do is you have screw on the front side, screw on the back side, and we're going to loosen that up a little bit. And it's going to kind of start to release the tension here. And most of your tension is going to be off, well, all your tension is going to be off the chain now. And then you're going to pull that guy off. And now you have your second jockey wheel. So, your upper jockey wheel. So remember, if you have with your jockey wheels, remember the better jockey wheel always you want to be on top. If you have a difference between the types of jockey wheels that you have, one's better than the other, make sure the best jockey wheel is on the top. Okay, so we're going to put that plate down there. We're going to take these jockey wheels here like so, minus the screw. So we want to reuse that screw. We have to reuse the screw. Unless you bought new screws. Like now with the James, we had bought some titanium screws, so we were using these. We got our bag with jockey wheels. We got our old jockey wheels, and yeah, sorry about that, folks. My memory card ran out of memory. Had video automatically stopped, so I had to get another one. I had to start again, trying to get that my memory card I normally use in my camera cleared up. Everything downloaded to the computer. Did not realize I had that much stuff on it. Okay, so I'm back to what we're going to do. Like I said, we got the jockey wheels, got the old ones, got them put in here. So unless you're kind of backtrack a little bit, unless you are replacing your bolts with titanium ones, you're going to have to reuse them. So, but have a set of bolts right here in case we ever had to reuse them. Got titanium ones in the James. We're going to be putting our standard ones back in here. Not too worried about it with this pipe. They're stainless steel. So, first thing we want to do is we got our pulleys here, and we're going to get a light bit of lube. Let's see here. So, big question that people have is you want to use a heavy grease with this type of bearing, or do you want to lose a light grease? Now, I'm not going to pull the bearing plates off at this point in time. There's really no need to. These are kind of pressed in a little bit. So normally what I would do is take a very fine, when the bearings wear out, I'd take a very fine screwdriver, put it in there, pop it out. The bearings themselves are already pre-packed with grease. That's not what we're trying to do. So, two things you can do, okay? You can use a light oil like so, bearing oil, but the problem is that this is going to collect dust. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with White Lightning's Epic Ride Semi-Dry, which turns dry after a couple of minutes. So that's what we're going to be using. I have a little bit left in this bottle here. I got my bucket that we use for spraying our WD-40 in. This has also got some, what do we got in here? We got some trash. No, we don't. We got some chain stuff. Sorry about that, folks. So, first thing we want to do, make sure you got yourself a bucket or a cloth, something so you don't make a mess. I'm going to take this, I'm going to unscrew the top from the Epic Ride or White Lightning. By the way, don't confuse this, guys, with the White Lightning your uncle or grandpa may have made back in, well, you know. So I'm going to take a tiny bit. I have this tiny bushing, and I'll put some on that, put it on the inside, and then we're going to set that aside to dry. Okay. Then I'm going to put a tiny bit into the center of the bearing area where the bushing will sit. Okay. And like I said, we're not trying to grease or oil the bearing itself. We're just trying to oil where the bushing is going to sit, because that is still a contact point with the metal. Okay. We're going to slip the bushing in like so, and we're just going to let that sit and dry. Okay. Prop it up against something. Okay. Then we're going to take our other bushing. Anytime you have metal-to-metal contact with anything, you want to oil it up a little bit. Get some lubricant on it. And with bushings and things of that nature, normally I try to use a dry lube, but not a wax. You don't want to use a wax. It's only for your chains. Rub a little bit on there. Nice thing is with this, you can get a little bit too much. It's okay. It's not going to hurt it. A little bit in there, like so. Putting our top back on. Putting our bushing in, side, like that. We're going to set this back up to the side to dry. Okay. Get that. Okay. So, now that we've gotten that taken care of, we want to grab some stuff here. By the way, one thing I recommend doing, if ever you want to clean stuff, using WD-40 as a degreaser, get yourself a Rubbermaid or Tupperware container like so. Nothing glass, plastic will do. You can spray the WD-40 or degreaser in there. I have 2 chains in here, and they've been sitting in there forever and a day. But I know that in the conditions out here in Guam, I just leave them sitting in there and it will prevent them from rusting instead of leaving them sit out. Typically, they pre-wax chains. Well, I don't want to wax these chains. I don't have to deal with that. It's messy. This, yeah, it can be messy too, but I just kind of put that down there, and we got ourselves our little container for our chains. And then if I have to reuse those chains, because those chains weren't fully worn, those are the ones I was using on my Jamis, we can simply just, just put those back and reuse those. So, sorry about that, folks. Trying to get some stuff, throw some stuff away here. So, Another thing that I do is that's not everybody does, but I tend to do is I take my old bags from the store, and go to the hardware store or whatever, and I reuse those. Those become my trash bags. So I like to do that, and then I get a little more use out of that stuff as well. So, sorry, I wanted to put a few things away here. They're not in the way of us doing our project here. So, as that stuff is drying, you have your back plate for your rear mech. So you want to make sure that's there. Like I said, we're going to have to be pulling this chain taut as we put on the pulleys. Put the pulley system back in here. But that shouldn't be too complicated. Now, you want to remember which direction this thing goes, okay? And typically, as you can see, it will match up to here. So this big end here is always going to go over here, like so. And the other way you can match it up is you look at where the screws go. So you look at your screws, and they're countersunk screws, as you can see right there. See, countersunk. And so the countersunk can only go in one way. If you look at this side here, obviously, no, that's a threaded portion, so the screw would have to go from that side. So that side, the screw can go in, and that would mean that that would be the back side, because if you remember, on the bottom portion, the screw went in from the front. On the top portion, the screw went from the back. So that means that this is the top part of the cage, okay? So don't forget that. So now we're going to take our first pulley, and we're going to take our first screw, and we're going to start bringing this around here like so, making sure no dirt and debris are on our mechanism here. And we're going to take this pulley system, we're going to take this like so. Sorry, it goes like this. So, just like this. Your top jockey wheel, like I said, is not really holding any tension on the chain. And you're going to take your neck like so. You're going to bring it around. And the chain will have to go in between this piece, the back plate, but that's easily done. So, we'll start by putting the bolt in like that. I'm going to put this in like so. And then I'm going to start by threading that in. I'm going to grab my wrench here. And we can use the Bonded side at this point in time just because we're not going to fully tighten it just yet. We're just going to put a few threads in. Then we're going to come around and we're going to bring the chain around like so. Okay, onto the jockey wheels themselves, like this. And bring this up and around, like this. And we're going to put like a couple more threads in there. We're just going to leave it like that. So we're not going to tighten this down all the way. We don't want to tighten the top one first before we put some threads in the bottom one. Okay, so now we're going to grab our bottom jockey wheel. And like I said, because both of these are bearing, it's not going to matter which one goes where. They are equal jockey wheels. And as you can see, we dropped the screw. We're going to come over here, make sure that this comes up like this. This is going to have to go down like so. And this is where it gets a little tricky because, as you can see, the chain wraps around like this. Down here, it's going to round around the back side of this jockey wheel. But it should be pretty easy because we're going to take this screw, put it in the front side, come all the way through like so, guide the rear plate over to where the screw is, and then we're going to put a couple of threads in it like this. So the pathway is around the rear cassette. Of course, we have our dummy hub here, So we're around the rear cassette, okay, and then it goes down around the top jockey wheel, forward of the top jockey wheel. It comes in around, you have a little plate here, and you want to come underneath that plate, or behind that plate. You know, if you go over that plate, you're going to rub it, and then you're going to ruin your rear mech. And then you're going to want to come around the back side of the lower jockey wheel, and then through the back plate, not over the back plate, and that should be it. So then we're going to snug up the screws, starting with the bottom, going up to the top. The top we have the least amount of snug on it, just like so. We're going to spin that now. The other thing you might want to do is torque that. Okay, so we had our Allen wrench. We were using a 3mm Allen wrench. So we're going to go into our tool set, and we're going to pull out our 3mm Allen, and that's that. That's the smallest one they got for that. Now you can get smaller ones for that. For your torque wrenches, but that's the smallest one I had in the set. So I'm going to pull that out. We'll go over our toolbox here, folks. Oops. Dropping things. Make sure you're very careful with your tools, folks. You don't want to break them. Allen wrenches can be very heavy. So we're going to come grab our trusty torque wrench. And you definitely don't want to drop this guy. You drop this guy, you throw it all out of calibration. It can be hard to, many times it's not really worth recaling unless you're doing it personally. So we're going to put on our adapter, put on our thing, and we're going to set this guy up. This should be set for roughly 5 Newton meters. Set it for 40-inch pounds. So you hear the click, means you're done. Don't torque it past the clicking sound. Okay, so don't go and tighten it past that clicking sound. Come up here to the rear mech. So, and click, bam. Now you can test it a second click, but like I said, you don't want to click it and then push past it, because the torque wrench will do that. The clicking is just to indicate that you're at that torque that you wanted, the desired torque spec, sorry. Okay, so we're going to put our torque wrench back. Like I said, always keep your torque wrenches, if you can, in a case. That way you're not ruining them, and you're keeping them good. Because the last thing you want to do is break your torque wrenches. They're not cheap pieces of equipment. And for the most part, the standard tools, they're going to be your more expensive standard tools that you're going to have. So take care of them, don't abuse them, and your tools will take care of you. And what I always do is, when I'm done using my tools, instead of throwing them on my workbench, I put them back in my toolbox. If I have to leave a drawer slightly slit open, I leave the drawer slightly slit open. So now, as you can see, we have our jockey wheels, and they're on there. Now aluminum ones are going to make slight noise, as you can hear. You're going to have some noise. It's just the way they are. They're not going to be super uber quiet. That's why people like the Teflon ones that you get standard, because they make slightly less noise. But all jockey wheels make noise. All rear mechs are going to make a little clicking sound. And don't worry about it. If it's not, if the free hub, first of all, makes noise. See, your free hub makes some noise. And some of them are very loud. Some free hubs are ridiculously loud. And you're going to get some noise with that. It's the way it is. I've heard that the carbon fiber ones don't really make hardly any noise, but I've also heard they wear out a lot quicker too. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shift, make sure that our jockey wheels shift good. So for that, let's see here. Let's kind of move our camera out, and we're going to kind of focus on the rear mech there. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to go ahead and shift our rear mech. Obviously, you don't want to shift into the farthest down gear with the dummy hub because it actually catches. This dummy hub isn't really made for that. You just don't want to keep it there. Okay. But it is shifting. So we're going to shift it into the bottommost gear just because now we're going to put on our wheel. So we're going to now take and release our dummy hub. That's also the nice thing about having a chain guard, chain stake guard, is you don't ruin chain stakes. And we're going to put this up, wheel up into, we're going to catch it on the lowest. And like so. We're going to lift it up into there. We're going to line the wheel with the line here. And we're going to tighten the quick release. Okay, now we're going to try shifting again. So as you can see here, we got nice, get out of the way here, nice smooth shifting. Now, because the jockey wheels are slightly different sizes, you might want to check as you downshift your trim a little bit. So you might need to adjust the trim just a tiny bit, but overall that's what you're going to have, and the shifting is good. You want to make sure the shifting is smooth because your shifting, even though it shouldn't change really a whole lot with the jockey wheels, change the jockey wheels, it can adjust the rear mech over just a tiny bit and might not mess up your shifting, but it kind of can change the way the bike shifts. So you might have to tighten or loosen. Normally, in that case, you're not going to adjust the upper and lower limit screws, but you might have to change the chain tension. So, or sorry, the cable tension. So, folks, that's it for me today. As you can see, we've upgraded our rear mech to a better rear mech, okay, with not much money at all. So that's something that everybody can do themselves. It makes sure these bearings will run smoother. Like I said, you're going to have a little bit of noise there. I mean, you're going to have some clicking because you're talking about aluminum to stainless steel chain, and that's going to make a slight noise. The same way as you have the ratchet pawl and free hub clicks, okay? But the nice thing is it's a very smooth, it's the same thing all the time, so you don't have to worry about that. That's not some unusual noise that you hear, okay? So it's not like the noise that you hear from it rubbing against the front railing, because you're not really talking metal to metal. So not a big deal. Hopefully you enjoy this video. If you like the video, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below because that really helps with the videos. And like always, make sure you guys keep riding. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video.